On this team, we fight for that itch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that itch.
Coming in at 320 kilobytes per second. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Mattie C Sports for you and me.
We shall know.
When it comes to getting dough and chasing dollars.
On this team, we fight for that itch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that itch.
Coming in at 320 kilobytes per second. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Mattie C Sports for you and me.
We shall know.
When it comes to getting dough and chasing dollars.
On this team, we fight for that itch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that itch.
Coming in at 320 kilobytes per second. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Mattie C Sports for you and me.
We shall know.
When it comes to getting dough and chasing dollars.
Hit it.
Hey everybody, Mattie C Sports for you and me. I got a very special guest from the Montreal Canadiens, Chris Nilan. This guy, let's just say, used to mess shit up back in the day. Chris, how you doing today?
I'm good, Matt. How are you, pal? Good to be on the show with you.
Wonderful. This is the only red and blue shirt I had, so sorry, I didn't want to wear black and gold today. I wasn't in the mood.
It's right behind you. I can see the black and gold behind you.
Oh yeah, that's right. So yeah, I wanted to start off by thanking you again. So I wanted to start off with, the local stuff when you first started. So where'd you start off? I know you were in West Roxbury and you were in the MDC, which I had no idea the MDC had a league back then, or it even had a league. So
Yeah.
what was it like with that?
First of all, I grew up in West Roxbury, and the first organized hockey, first time I skated was on a puddle at the end of my street. There was a warehouse at the end of my street, Rexall Drugs, and they had a warehouse, and in the parking lot there was a big depression in it, and it had rained. It was like it was early winter, late fall, early winter, and it rained, and then that puddle, it got so cold it turned to ice, obviously, and then my dad thought that would be a good place to take me skating. I was probably at the time, I think I was like four years old at the time, 5 years old. And I remember it like it was yesterday. He put the skates on me. I was there, my sister, my brother, and my youngest sister hadn't been born yet, but he took us skating. And I just remember being outdoors. It was a sunny day, and I was bombing around that little puddle, and to me it felt like a huge pond, like a lake. It was just unbelievable, and I bombed around that ice, and I absolutely just loved the feeling of being on the skates. And I skated that day, and then it was a long time before I skated again. They happened to build a rink at the end of my street in West Roxbury, the MDC rink on the VFW Parkway. And there was a local rep who I'm good friends actually with his nephew. His name was Charlie Doyle. He was a rep for the West Roxbury, Rosendale area in the city of Boston. And he started a league, Charlie Doyle Hockey League. And that was my first attempt at organized hockey. But before I even started that, they had built the rink in West Roxbury, MDC, and I used to go public skating all the time. I mean, I was up there every day. And then after a year or so, they started that Charlie Doyle League. And even though I played organized hockey in the Charlie Doyle League, I skated all the time. I went up public skating. So that's really where I cut my teeth in the skating part of it. And then Charlie Doyle was where I cut my teeth with the hockey part of it. And I had a lot to learn, obviously. And, I went from Charlie Doyle to playing West Roxbury youth hockey. And then eventually, that was Pee Wee, and there was a guy named Steve Curtin who was a coach of mine who he coached in West Roxbury hockey. He had some differences with the people who ran it, and he left and started an all-star team called Hub City. And Steve Curtin, I went and played for him, and it was comprised of kids from all around the city. And we played down in Hingham. We played in the South Shore League, and that's when hockey started to be fun for me. And that Hub City team went from Steve Curtin to Mr. Ford coaching to Judge Paul King, who ended up having a huge influence on my life. But yeah, that's where it all started, back in West Roxbury in the Charlie Doyle League.
Now, was the Hingham rink, was it Pilgrim Arena?
Yeah, Pilgrim, yeah.
Yeah, that's where I used to skate all the time because I was from Weymouth. So, so then you go to Northeastern. How was it like playing over there?
Well, before that, I played at Catholic Memorial. I really didn't play till, my freshman year. I sat on the bench the whole time. Then, I finally made the varsity team as a junior. And I went away to prep school for 1 year at Northwood School, where I did really good in hockey. I did real good in school. I ended up with a scholarship to Northeastern. The judge certainly had a lot to do with that, Judge Paul King. Again, he was my coach at Hub City, and a dear friend who really helped me, in life in more ways than just hockey. But he's the guy who helped me get into Northeastern. He was good friends with Fernie, had Fernie come and see me play when I was at Northwood. And then in turn, Fernie ended up offering me a scholarship at Northeastern. It didn't start off great for me there. I certainly, I had some issues, obviously. I ended up with a fight off the ice with someone. I ended up breaking my hand. And then I missed part of my first season. And then second season, same thing happened. I ended up in a fight with someone. I ended up in the hospital with an infection. And yeah, it was not good. But listen, I made the best of it. And I ended up becoming a regular player at Northeastern. It was a great opportunity for me, a great stepping stone. And I can only tell you that I'm grateful that Coach Flamin stuck by me and, didn't kick my ass out of school.
Yeah.
And he probably should have.
Yeah, that was a tough time for Northeastern too, right? Because, you had the BCs and the BUs always going for bean pots and stuff like that. It was hard for... Yeah, it was
difficult. From the standpoint, they had a hard time recruiting Northeastern, especially local kids, because of, everybody wanted to go to BCBU. At the time, Northeastern, again, that area was a tough area. It got cleaned up a lot since, but it was it was just on the edge of a lot of drugs and violence in that area. And I had a hard time recruiting people. And certainly that's not the case today, but, back in the day, it certainly was. And yeah, it was tough to compete against them teams. They had some really good players. Not that we didn't, but we were kind of like the dead end kids, you know. Fernie had to recruit a lot in Canada to be able to bring some players down to have at least a chance to really compete against those other teams.
Yeah, and that's what I saw. That's what I'd known for a long time. Like Northeastern and Harvard, it was very hard for them to win a lot of the times. And then, like you said, recently Northeastern started winning. They were winning bean pots. They were playing really good hockey, and
Yeah.
they're fun to watch. But it's unfortunate that the bean pot isn't happening for a while at least. But so after that, you get drafted and you go to the minors for a little while, and finally you get to Montreal. What was it? Oh, actually, I forgot to say that Catholic Memorial does share the same kind of logo with Montreal. So.
Oh yeah, that was Coach Hansen, who was my coach when I finally got the opportunity to play at CM, and he changed the logo. You know,
Oh,
it wasn't
okay.
always that way. Billy ended up, Coach Hansen, Bill, ended up changing the logo for Catholic Memorial, and with good reason. They weren't, you know, they were pretty much winning a lot of championships in high school hockey, not unlike, you know, the Montreal Canadiens in a lot of ways.
Yeah, so back in the day, yeah. Well, they're still pretty big. You know, you got the Thayers, you got Catholic Memorial, you got Severian, you got all these big teams out that are making pretty good noise out here in Massachusetts. And so anyways, for you, so you go in the minors, and then you went to Scotia, right? In the minors?
Yeah, I was drafted by the Canadiens in the 19th round, 231 out of 235. I got drafted as a favor, and it was a favor to Judge Paul King. Judge Paul King was friends with Dickie Moore and Doug Harvey, who had played for the Canadiens, Hall of Famers. And Doug was a scout at the time, and Dickie was in the business world, but he still held some sway with the Montreal Canadiens. Sam Pollock, they went and approached Sam Pollock on behalf of the judge and asked if they would draft me. And that's what they did. And it was all because of Judge King. Judge King went to Dickie and asked him if he could do him that favor. And his word, and I didn't know this until after Judge King passed away, and I saw Dickie. And I had talked to Dickie all throughout my career when I played here in Montreal. And I saw Dickie, he was at the judge's funeral, and we talked afterwards. And I asked him, I said, what's up with that when I got drafted back in the day? I mean, did they really come and scout me? He said, well, they came and scouted you, but your friend Paul King asked me if I would ask the Montreal Canadiens just to draft you and get you an opportunity to go to training camp in Montreal. And the judge actually told me, if you would do that for me, I'd appreciate it. Just get the Canadiens to draft Chris Nilan. And the judge told Dickie, I guarantee it, and he'll do the rest. And I never realized how, like, I always knew the judge had something special for me, and he was really good to me. But it was because of him I got drafted. And I certainly didn't realize until he was long gone, well, not long gone, but had passed away, that, you know, he had said that. He had said that, you know, just draft him and I'll do the rest. And for a man to have that kind of confidence in someone else, like he had in me, it was incredible. And I know I didn't let him down, and I know he was proud as hell of me. And he was the guy that was responsible for me being in the NHL, was Paul King, with his relationship with Dickie and Doug. But yeah, I came to first training camp, hated all the Canadiens. I was intimidated a bit. I just tried to play physical, you know, I grew up watching the Bruins, and that's the type of hockey I like to play. And, you know, I came to camp and I was kind of, you know, I was a little behind, you know, it was certainly up against all those guys, it was intimidating. But I got sent to Halifax. I was with the Nova Scotia Voyageurs. I ended up on a 5-game tryout for $200 a game. I didn't play the first 3 games, and my first game in Maine was Philly's farm team in 1979. We played against the Mariners, and I ended up in a fight with a kid named Glenn Cochran, really big kid, tough kid, played out western Canada, and I cut him, and I give it to him pretty good, but I cut him really bad under the eye. And the next day, the general manager called me, who happened to be the coach also. I was in my room, and he said, listen, do you have an agent? I said, no, I don't. He said, well, you better get one, because the Canadiens want to sign you to a contract. And I had one fight in Nova Scotia, and because I did that, because I cut him open and beat him in that fight, I had a contract. So I signed a 3-year deal, 2-way contract. You know, not a lot of money, but it was like $16,500 in the minors, and 60 to play in Montreal. So I was off and running. I ended up playing 49 games in Halifax. I had 15 goals and 10 assists. I had 25 points for, you know, in 49 games, and I had 304 minutes in penalties, I think, something like that. But you know, I had a point every 2 games, and I was fighting every night. So I think the Habs were certainly I didn't know they were watching me as close as they were, but apparently they had guys down there watching me every night. Once I started fighting and I started playing better, they monitored me, and I ended up getting called up. They had a few injuries. I ended up getting called up in January of 80, you know. So yeah, and then the rest certainly is history, but it was awesome. It was an awesome stepping stone, the American League, but I'm glad I didn't have to stay there any longer than I did.
Yeah, exactly. And my God, in the 70s and 80s, you just had like just such tough guys. I mean, I'm saying you too. Like, I mean, you had everybody coming in, and they literally fought for jobs. And I know that was kind of your thing, but you pretty much stood with Montreal, and you just defended every single guy on that team. And I mean, I watched your documentary, and I thought it was amazing, like how your career went, and just all the respect you had for every player, and you know, made sure they were comfortable and weren't scared to play. And I thought that was really cool that you helped out every player on your team.
Well, Matt, you know, we all helped each other out. We're a great team as far as cohesiveness, but you know, there is a comfort level when you have somebody in the lineup, not just one guy, but a few guys that are able to protect some of those guys that are smaller, some of those guys that maybe are more timid and intimidated easily. And it's just nice to know you have somebody there. And I love being able to provide that. It was fun for me. It certainly gave me a role and a purpose, but I certainly wasn't content with that. At the beginning I was, but I wanted to become a regular player in the NHL. And I certainly didn't mind doing my job, but I would have had a tough time to play 13 years in the NHL and just sit on the bench and fight. That wouldn't have worked too well for me. So I was driven certainly by the need to become a regular player. I needed to become a regular player because I could have never done that job. And I was in a great place to do it. I had a lot of help. I had great coaching. And being in Montreal at the time, it was nice because they didn't want me to just be a fighter. They wanted me to be a player too. And it certainly helped being with an organization that nurtured me and brought me along, and to the point where I was able to play in any situation at any time in the game. So for me, that was my my best accomplishment, other than, you know, winning the Stanley Cup in '86. Just to become a full-time NHLer was an accomplishment and a half.
And it's not like you were playing for a rinky-dink organization. This is the Montreal Canadiens. I mean, you know, coming from a guy, you know, you come from Boston, so you're like, oh, you know, you looked up to Bobby Orr, Derek Sanderson, and all those guys. But I mean, you're playing for a world-class organization as well. And I mean, like, it must have been awesome playing with like Larry Robinson and sorry, I blanked for a second.
All of them. Yeah,
yeah,
you know, awesome organization, like I said. And, you know, yeah, I did look up to Bobby Orr and Derek, maybe Derek a little too much. You know, I always wanted to play for the Bruins. It was my goal. And, you know, I was drafted by the Canadiens. It was all to do with Judge King, like I said. But to come up here and play in that organization, be accepted by the guys, being helped along by the guys, you know, they treated me so well when I came in. I mean, they just come off of winning 4 Stanley Cups, going for number 5. And here I am with this group. And I thought, geez, I got a shot at this. And, you know, I didn't go. I got drafted in '78. I stayed in school 1 more year. And I just missed out on, and who knows, but I have a feeling I probably would have got called up my first year, even if I came in '78.
Yeah.
But I didn't. And, you know, I thought we were going to win that 5th Stanley Cup, and didn't happen. We lost in Game 7 of Minnesota in overtime. And, yeah, and then they went through that rebuilding process. But, yeah, just an awesome organization to come up in. And, you know, having been a Bruins fan my whole life. I remember I got drafted, and the Canadiens were playing the Bruins in the playoffs like they did almost every year. 79, 78, 79. And the Canadiens did it to the Bruins again. Yeah, I'll never forget it. LaFleur scoring that goal. They had it. Too many men in the ice. Devastating. And then I came to training camp, and I hated them. You know, I felt weird coming to training camp the first time. I felt just like such an outsider. And, you know, it didn't take long, though, for me to certainly change my allegiance. It took time, but that it happened over the course of that first year pro.
What was it like at the Forum? How was it?
The Forum was an incredible place to play. It's like, come on, the Boston Garden, Chicago Stadium. I didn't play in the Olympia. When I came in the league, Joe Louis Arena was in its first year. So I never played in Detroit Olympia. But, boy, those original 6 teams, all the buildings, and the Forum certainly was the class of that. You know, it was just a special place. You know, Saturday nights, everybody all decked out. Roger Doucette singing the national anthem of Canada, and just everything. The Forum was a special place. The red, white, and blue seats, really, really great set. And I remember Saturday nights and coming out, going in and warm up, and then coming out to the beginning of the game, and you come out the hallway, locker room, and it's kind of like this blue haze hung over the top of the ice, kind of smoky.
That's
looking.
awesome.
Yeah, it was just really, it was Saturday night, and away we went. It was just awesome. And no better team to play on a Saturday night, hockey night in Canada, than some people would say the Maple Leafs, but no, the Boston Bruins.
Yeah, you can't say that. You can't.
They had that.
I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, it's a great rivalry.
That's like, I mean, maybe the most equivalent to that is probably like Philly playing Pittsburgh now.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know if it was like that in your time, them being rivals.
Edmonton and Calgary are pretty good rivalry back in the day, but you know, Quebec, Montreal was another good one. So, but the Bruins and Montreal was the longest running rivalry, and still is somewhat. Although this year it's a little different, right, because of the pandemic. But
Yeah, they're not in
still
even any league anymore.
it's in mothballs for now. That
Yeah.
rivalry.
So what in '86 when you won? I mean, I know you broke your ankle, but like, what it was you broke your ankle, right? In the
No,
during
I
that time?
tore ligaments in my ankle, and I missed the last game.
But
Yeah.
what was it like? When that feeling of winning the cup and then seeing your father after that, and you gave him your rings, right? You gave the rings to him.
Yeah, I gave him my ring. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
what was that day like?
No, it's just I've been there the whole playoffs, and I fought Neil Sheehy in a game in Montreal, and my leg went underneath me, and my ankle snapped under me, and I
Jesus.
thought I broke it, but it just blew up, and as soon as I took my skate off, it just swelled like crazy, and I could hardly walk the next day. I was on crutches, and we ended up going out to Calgary, and I was hoping I could play, and I waited till go in the warm up, and they injected me, and I could barely. I mean, finally got my foot into my skate, and then I went and warm up, and big Serge Savard, my former teammate, general manager at the time, came down after warm up and said, "No, listen, you can't. Oh, your left leg can't keep up with your right." I mean, yeah, I can. I wanted to do everything I could to get in that game, and they made the switch. And the one good thing about it was that Steve Rooney got in the lineup, a local kid from Canton, and Steve got his opportunity to play in that final game. So as bad as it was for me not being able to play, I was happy for Steve. And I guess the tough part for me was not to be on the ice with my uniform on, sweat, that moment.
Yeah.
And that was a tough part for me. But certainly it was the highlight of my career at the same time. To be able to win the Stanley Cup, to be part of a group of guys that sharing that common goal, and they achieve that goal, you're bound together forever, for a lifetime. And it's pretty cool to be part of something like that. But again, the sad part for me was I didn't play in that game. And, I see guys come out now and they put their uniform on and take a picture with the cup. That would have been nice, but, they didn't do that back then. We didn't even think of that. Like, oh, put your uniform on and go get some pictures with it. And so that was difficult. But again, it's great to have been part of something like that.
So during that time, when you had when the Stanley Cup, did they individually give the Stanley Cup to people, like each player?
No, they didn't. We didn't get it back then. Myself and a teammate went to do a promotion one day up in Joliette, Quebec. Lucien Deblois, he was from there, went and took pictures. Molson used it as a marketing tool, and promotional thing. So we went up and took pictures all day, but we ended up stealing it. I told Lucien, listen, we'll never get the opportunity to do this again. Well, we might if we win again, but you know how difficult that is. And sure enough, I was taking a picture with it. Lucien went and got the car. I took my last picture. I mean, we were there for 8 hours taking pictures. We were there all day. And I grabbed that thing, took the last picture, and I turned and ran, threw it in the car, and off we went. He brought it home to his family. I brought it home to my son Christopher, was born that year, and I got a picture of him and Colleen, him sitting in it, and his sister Colleen next to him. It was pretty cool. So yeah, they didn't give it to you back then, but I surely would have brought it home to Boston if that was the case. But yeah, at least I brought it home.
Hey, I wouldn't expect anything else. I know you. Hey, you deserve the Stanley Cup. I can't believe they didn't do it back then. But so yeah, you continue. I mean, you're averaging a year almost 300 penalty minutes a year. Like, was it like how much wear and tear on your body is it to? I mean, to just like pretty much destroy like your knuckles. Well, your knuckles, Nilan anyway. But like with the wear and tear, how is it like throughout a whole season? With you? I mean, you're fighting every night. Like, how does it feel after that?
Well, it's, you kind of get used to it. I'd say, like, playing with injuries, and your hands are cut up all the time. They never have a chance to heal. But just at that stage and at that age, you're able to deal with those things better. It's just when we get older, you feel them a little bit more. But certainly, mentally, it took a lot of focus, a lot of determination to do that job. Mentally, physically, and emotionally, it's difficult, and you deal with some things. You have to constantly be on your toes. You got to constantly, worry, I guess, about not winning a fight or getting beat really bad. That was, I think, the biggest thing for me, is not to get, I always tried to win. I fought to win, but obviously, I got in trouble sometimes, and, you don't want to be the guy that took that major league beating, because a lot of times, here's your teammates sitting there, you're going out to kind of lead the charge, and you get your ass whipped. That's a head hanger on the bench. Guys are like, oh, there was a tough guy, got his hat handed to him. So, listen, I'm gonna sit here and tell you I won every fight, but I showed up. I did well in a lot of my fights, and when I lost, I guess I looked like I didn't lose too bad. You know what I'm getting at? And
yeah, I get you. Totally.
And kind of that's what you hope you can do over the course of the season. And I enjoyed my job. I know a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, sure." I did. I loved sticking up for my teammates. I loved being able to drop my gloves, look a guy in the eye, let's go, and get it done. Was it difficult? Yeah, but like I said, I enjoyed that part of it. That's the part that opened the door for me, and I never forgot to do that to the end. Some guys do, they stop fighting. I always saw, growing up watching the Bruins, that guys stopped fighting. Man, it wasn't long before he was out the door or ended up getting traded. See you later. So I always kept that part up, and as tough as it was, I mean, there were nights, I'd be in the hotel, ice in my hand after game, and, a lot of tough nights, but, certainly worth it for me. It got me to where I wanted to go as far as an NHLer. And, I enjoyed that part. Like I said, I know some guys, listen, I could sleep fine the night before a game. I could sleep the afternoon of a game. And, was I nervous 4 games? Of course. Sitting in the locker room at the Boston Garden, knowing you're going to go out on the ice, and there's probably 4 or 5 guys that could be potential, targets. I'm certainly a target, but, that's can be unnerving. And same in Philadelphia. Philadelphia had quite a few guys that could handle themselves, and, it's an uneasy feeling. And I know I had that feeling, and I would look around the room at my teammates, and I could tell the guys who certainly, now I didn't show that, but there were other guys you would watch that certainly were nervous and did show it. And I can only imagine how they felt. I'm like, I don't, honestly, I don't care. I'm going. There's no question about it. I'm going with someone tonight. And I often thought of my teammates that I guess, wanted to be there to play hockey, and, not have to do that kind of stuff, and maybe we're a little more timid. So I could only imagine how they felt.
So tell me this one thing. So when you went into the Garden and played the Bruins, was it more, did you have more of a push, like, yeah, I want to really beat these guys tonight, or along the lines of, well, so, they invented the nylon glass. I don't think they have that anymore in the new rink. I didn't think they added that to the arena. So
No, listen, of course I wanted to beat the Bruins, like any other team, but yeah, there was a little more there, like I was a Boston kid, the whole place is screaming nylon sucks every game in unison, and of course I wanted to walk out of there a winner, and we did a lot of nights. Not an easy place to play. Bruins were always a proud bunch. But back in that day, it always seemed penalties cost them, right? They had a lot of guys that were tough and could play, and they had some tough guys that maybe not so much, but it seemed like it always cost them the penalty. And I loved playing in the Boston Garden, and I loved standing up to whoever was in front of me. Any situation I had to deal with, I would. It was more special to beat that team. It certainly was. Like I said, for me it was, and I'm sure every teammate of mine, it was more special to beat them than the LA Kings or the Vancouver Canucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like in particular, like Jay Miller, did you guys have like a thing back then? Like, was he always trying to get after you?
Oh yeah, listen, he got called up after the Middleton incident, and Jay got called up, but they already had like 3 or 4 guys: Curran, O'Reilly, Kluzak, Mark Ward, this one, that one. They had enough guys already, and they brought Jay up, so it was just another guy. And I remember the night he got called up, the afternoon, I think it was, and I got put on the ice, and they put him out, and he lined up next to me. And I said, listen, I know why you're here. As soon as the puck drops, we're going. And we did. So, yeah. And, we certainly had our share of fights. And then Kordic came along, and John fought him a few times.
Kordic's a pretty big dude.
Yeah. So, yeah, we did. And we ended up meeting when he got traded to LA. That's right. And I was with the Rangers, and I bumped into him in the hallway in Cincinnati. We were playing an exhibition game, and he saw me. He said, "Hey, Chris, how do you like it there?" Yeah, right. It's not Montreal, but. And I said, "How about you? How's it?" "Oh, I love LA. It's awesome living on the beach." And we just shooting the breeze. And he said, "Hey, do you fish?" And I'm, yeah, a little bit. But he said, "Well, maybe one day we'll go tuna fishing down the Cape, one summer, get in touch with me, blah, blah, blah." And we're talking, and all of a sudden, Rogie Vachon comes, the GM of LA, and he sees us in the hall, and he kind of goes the other way. And Jay says, "Oh my God, I'm in the shit now." He said, "Rogie hates when you talk to people on the other team." I'm there, "Oh well." I walk away, and I'm going, "I'm fighting him," right off the bat. I knew I was fighting him. And sure enough, game starts. I go on the ice. They put him out, and we fought. So yeah, we kind of had our thing. But I like Jay's an awesome guy. I love Jay. Really, he's a good guy.
I remember you guys in the alumni game.
Yeah.
He got hit in the eye with the puck, right?
I don't remember.
Yeah, he did something like that.
I hope the puck's okay.
Oh man, so shit. So you get traded to New York. I'm sure that crushed you a little bit or a lot of it. I don't know.
No, a lot of it.
You must have had a very big emotion of stuff going on. Sorry.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. I don't know how guys do it. Like, I see this gal Chenyuk. Yeah, he's been traded 7 times. Oh, and it's like, you kidding me? I remember Brent Ashton when we played. He played like for 11 teams. Like,
Holy
I
shit.
hated it. I absolutely hated being traded. Never wanted to play for another team. And I said it before. I'll say it again. I was never quite the same. I played hard for my teammates. I stuck up for my teammates. But there was nothing like playing for the Canadiens. And I certainly, I was crushed. It almost broke me. And, a difficult situation. But I stood up for what I always said I'd stand up for. And that was, I'd never let a coach tell me to fight or make the inference that I was to go out and fight. And at that time, Jean Perron, who was a complete idiot, didn't really understand the game. Not understand it so much, but be able to coach and teach. And it was hard to take him serious. He certainly didn't show me any respect. And, he actually mentioned one day in the locker, we were going through a hard time as a team, and he went around the room and pointed everybody out. This guy, that guy, tell him what he's doing wrong. And then he says to me, when's the last time, Chris Nilan, when's the last time you had to fight? And I'm like, I said, when's the last time I had a fight? What do you know about fighting? You never had a fight in your life. And you're telling me I got to go out and fight? Is that it? So I basically told him what he could do and where he could go. And I promised myself, if a coach ever tapped me on the back and told me to go out and fight, I was going to have it out with him on the bench. It certainly would have drawn a whole lot of attention to that. But I've never had a coach do that because they knew I could do my job. They didn't have to tell me how to do my job. There were times I had coaches, hey, slow it down a little. I had Jacques Lemaire, my coach, immense amount of respect for me and the job I did. He would take me out of situations. He told me I fought too much. Slow down. You don't have to fight so much. And I got this clown, telling me that. And didn't sit well with me. And I stood up for what I felt was right. I stayed true to myself. And it cost me. Cost me in a big way. The hardest thing for me to accept was Serge. Yeah, he traded me. But afterwards, we talked about it. And he said, I had to make a decision. I put him in a difficult spot.
Yeah.
Let me preface that. I'm not putting this all on Serge. I'm not. But he said, because I said to him afterwards when we met in the summer, why, come on, that guy. He fired the coach at the end of that season. And Pat Burns came up. And Pat Burns and I were like that. We were we would have been together like unbelievable. And Serge said, I didn't think Pat was ready. And I call bullshit because he, 2 months later, he fired Perron. Another 2 months he was ready? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no shit.
It's like, he needed another year or two in the minors before he got – no. So that kind of pissed me off. But listen, I put him in a bad spot. He had to do it. He had to make a decision, a tough one. And I think it cost him because, I think it – and I'm not going to say I would have won that Stanley Cup in '89 all by myself. No. But I know I was a key piece against that Calgary team who we beat in '86 and lost to in '89, 3 years later. Now, did they make some changes? Yeah. But so did the Canadiens. I think one change the Canadiens made was with me, and it hurt the team, I think. So we'll never know. We'll never know.
Yeah, it's just one of those things you'll never know. But so did it get worse when you went to the Bruins, like when you got traded? Were you happy you went back to Boston, or was it more like?
Yeah, no, I asked to be traded there. I wanted to come home. My father didn't want me to come back. I always wanted to play for the Bruins. And I did. And I had my first year was good. I broke my ankle, screwed everything up. And, I was near the end. I was beat up. And it was difficult. Mike Milbury named me the All-Star team, which was awesome.
I like Mike Milbury.
Yeah, Mike Milbury. Listen, a lot of people, I remember back in the day, everybody's telling Mike Milbury, shut up. He was talking about Alan Eagleson and how he's screwing the players. Everybody, shut up, Milbury. Milbury was the only one who had the knowledge that and the information that, not the only one, but one of the guys had the knowledge and information that Alan Eagleson was screwing the players big time. And he spoke out against it, and everybody spoke out against Mike. And what happens? We know what happened years later. We know what Eagleson did to screw Bobby Orr, to screw every player, whoever was represented by him, and screwed every player who was under the Players Association umbrella with him at the helm. So, yeah, Mike Milbury, you got to take your hat off to him. And I know he might not be popular with everybody. He's a bright guy. He's old school, and good for him for staying true to himself too. But I remember back in those days, and everybody, Mike Milbury took a lot of flack for that. He named me and named Brian Skrulin. He saw guys that worked their ass off, did everything they could for their teams, and I guess never really get recognized for it. And so I thought it was pretty cool that he did that. And yeah, I'm grateful for him having done that,
Yeah, that's it. And they kind of did the same, not as the same as you, but like with when John Scott was put into the All-Star game. I mean, they did it out of
circumstances, but yeah.
Yeah.
The league, it's funny, the NHL, they, for years, guys fighting, doing all that. They just want to wipe that off the record, They want the record clean. They don't, they're really so hypocritical in a lot of ways. They really pump the physical part of the game. They pump them violent collisions, all their promos up here in Canada. They got cars sliding out of control on their commercials, and and then they show a hockey hit, a violent hit, where they promote that, and they like that because they know people like that. But they really love that part of it, but they don't like their past when it comes to fighting and players who fought. They're not Bettman and Daly and them really wish they could just kind of put that in the fire and burn it.
But there's a lot of people, like obviously me. I've been a hockey fan for as long as I can remember. Remember getting the old white Bruins jersey with the Bears on the side, and like I watched people fight like that. I watched like Detroit fight with the Avalanche. I watched all that stuff, and that's what got me into playing hockey and seeing hockey, and like watching guys like you, like not knowing like who you were at the time, but like then I'm like, I see you, and my dad was a big Montreal fan, and I'm the Bruins guy, so it's like he's got a big Montreal Stanley Cup thing, and I'm like, well, thanks a lot. And to go back to what you were saying, I mean, like with the collision things you had with the billboards, it's like, sorry, Chris, we don't got that. We got the dunk signs out here. Yeah. You know that. Yeah. But I mean, do you honestly think that fighting is ever going to leave this game? Because I honestly, I don't, because I mean, you see somebody gets a indirect elbow to the face, and the kid's laid out, you don't know what happens, and your guy sticks up for you. I see it in a different situation.
I don't know if the players will, because listen, they have a vote on it. The players, they have a say in it, and I don't think they'll ever take it out. But it's never going to be like it used to be. They excuse me. They I can see two guys getting so pissed at each other. They're at each other all night. They finally get frustrated, drop their gloves and fight. Okay, cool. That's fine. I can see a guy stepping in. Someone takes a cheap shot, sticks up for him. I get it. So I don't think they'll ever take that part out. But the more we go, the less we'll see. And they're going to, certainly take it out at the lower levels. And then you're not going to see it as much. You just won't at some point. Yeah. It'll be gone.
And so you officially retired with the Canadiens, and did you feel like you did enough in your career, like to look back and say, hey, I played a great NHL career?
Yeah, I have no qualms with the way things went. The one thing, the regret I have is that I never got to play for the Canadiens my full career. I didn't want to ever play for another team. That's my only regret. As far as accomplishments, yeah, having won the Stanley Cup, like I said, that was the ultimate. Having become an everyday NHL player, that was awesome. I achieved that goal, and I couldn't be happier with the way it went. But like anything in life, you pay a price, and I paid a price physically, no question about it. But would I do it again? Yes, I do it again.
And so with your stuff, I mean, The Last Gladiator, the documentary, pretty much with fighting and about your life. Now, like the guys who were in your documentary, like, were you good friends with a lot of them, or did that director just find other guys?
No, some of them I knew. I can't think of every guy that was in there, but Jimmy Vesey's my best friend, and he was in there. But O'Reilly, Probert, I know them well now, and I knew Bob well, but God rest his soul. But yeah, I can't think of everyone that's been in there, but a few of them were friends, but some weren't.
And it seems like so are you doing good in recovery yourself? Like with
everything's good. Yeah. Now
awesome.
Life is good again. I couldn't be happier, to be honest with you. I do my thing, and I love my life the way it is today. I had a difficult time. I got addicted to pain medication, and I was drinking too much, and I was I was glad to have been kind of directed toward going to treatment by a former teammate. I got some help from the NHL. Certainly, they helped me with my treatment, which I think is awesome, and I appreciate, and I'm grateful to the NHL for that. There was a price to pay. I paid it, and that part of my life, although not fun, it's still my life, and I went through it. It's part of the whole deal, as much as winning the Stanley Cup is. And I won't say I'm glad that happened to me, but it happened, and I accept it. And I've moved past that, and I pay attention to my sobriety every day. I have a woman in my life who is Jamie, who is clean and sober, and she can't keep me sober. I can't keep her sober. But we certainly have great support for each other in that, and life is good for both of us. And yeah, I wouldn't change a thing, to be honest.
I'm really glad to hear that, and hope you continue your sobriety. I think you will, with hanging out with them dogs you got over there.
Yeah. I got a Saint Bernard and a Golden. They're my little saint. She is sleeping right there on the floor. But certainly Adele is is awesome, and my other dog, a golden Bodie, is he's been remarkable in my life. He's really helped me. I've known that dog, and that dog been by my side since I've been in recovery. So he has a real big part in it. He's really helped me with a lot of things emotionally. It's incredible. Like it's incredible what the dog has done for me. So yeah, it's cool.
And the thing I really respect you for is when, you go to children's hospitals up in Montreal, the French ones and the English ones, or both. Yeah. And you absolutely help them out. I was like, I think that's totally amazing what you do for those kids. And
I appreciate it.
When you go and visit them, it's like they're gonna know who you are, and like then they'll, they have a lot of respect for you.
Well,
I have a lot of respect for you for doing that, of course.
Well, I appreciate it, but here's the deal. I think it, and I always thought it was important to give back. My father certainly taught me well. My father was one who always stuck up for the underdog, always was willing to give a helping hand. So a lot of that certainly rubbed off on me. But, when we talk about the hospitals here and doing that kind of work, I always loved it. The team did it too. I did it on my own. I did my own thing on the side. I never did it so people would know I did it. It finally gets out and people start talking. But listen, to be able to help other people and get out of yourself, I think if more people are able to do that in life, we'd certainly be better off. And, I've done work at the Children's Hospital here, the French Children's, St. Justin, I've been, and the Shriners. So to be able to get back, it's great. And even today, it doesn't matter that I played 30, 40 years ago. If you wear the Montreal Canadiens jersey and you tell a young kid that, oh, there's a former Canadian coming in today, they don't care. As long as it's a Canadian, they see the big CH. And just to bring a smile to a kid's face and the parents, when they're going through probably one of their most difficult times of their life, that's easy to do. And I enjoy it. So thank you.
And so I would say my final question to you, Chris, is who wins tonight's Lake Tahoe game, the Bruins or the Flyers?
Well, whoever doesn't fall through the ice first, I guess. But, who knows? People always have it. Who's going to win this game? You just never know. That's the NHL. You never know. The Bruins, Flyers. I like the Bruins team, man. Flyers got a pretty good team, but I'd pick the Bruins. I like their big line there. And I thought they were going to take a step back, losing Chara, losing Krug,
I did too.
Boy, the leadership on that team and the young guys coming up, and certainly Bruce Cassidy, I think, has done a wonderful job since he's been there. And I'll take the Bruins tonight.
All right. Well, I can't go against them.
Go Bees, go.
Go Habs, go is more your logo. So
I want to see the Bruins win tonight because I hate Philly, and I come on, don't forget I was a Boston Bruin also.
Yes, and I seen the Bruins play them in Philadelphia. I went with my wife to see them play in Philadelphia. Bruins won 6-1, and every single time they booed their own team because they played so bad. And I was like,
it's happened in Boston too, believe me.
I know.
Every fan base does that. So
the good ones, at least.
Every fan base does it.
All right, Chris. Well, thank you for coming on the show, and glad I got to talk to you, and glad you're enjoying life up in Montreal. And it's probably cold as shit there too, as it is down here.
Yeah, it is. So. It is.
And you think you can send me a Canadian sweater down here? Then I can be warm.
Just go to my website. You can check it out. Go to knucklesisland.com.
That's for all you people out there who are Canadiens fans. Check that out. And thank you again, Chris. And I will
All right.
interview with you again, sir. Thank you so much.
All right, Matt. You be well. Thanks.
All right,
bud.
you too. Bye.
Good luck.
Thanks. Bye, Chris.
Bye.